wake of its defeat in the 2024 general elections, the New Patriotic Party commissioned a fact-finding committee led by Professor Michael Quay to investigate the laws. Following the committee's report, the party resolved that constitutional reforms were necessary. A new committee chaired by Frank Davis was subsequently formed to oversee the constitutional review process. After receiving nearly 300 proposals from across the party, the committee consolidated them into 56 key amendments. On Saturday, July 19, approximately 6,000 NPP delegates gathered at the University of Ghana Stadium to vote on these proposals. The venue was draped in the party's signature red, white and blue colors, with large banners paying tribute to the party's historic figures. Founding fathers J.B. Dankwa, Dr. Kofi Abrefa-Buzia, Simon Diodong Dombo, as well as former leaders such as Dr. Edu Boahin, former President John Ajekum Kufuor, and former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. The events featured a series of speeches including solidarity messages from other political parties like the Liberal Party of Ghana and the ruling National Democratic Congress.
We as the political class must leave a legacy for generations yet unborn. We can only do this when we continue to grow our democracy and create a country of opportunity for ourselves, our children, and generations yet unborn. Let us together as political parties and Ghanaians put our resources together in resetting our state institution and create a just country for us all. We hope after your deliberation at this conference, you will come out a stronger opposition party in your reconstruction effort. Unity is key. Ghana needs a stronger opposition party to enhance our democracy. We also hope that after this conference, your party will appreciate the importance of having two surviving former presidents among you and continuously, adequately consult them to help build your party strong.
NPP General Secretary Justin Frimpong Kodia called on members to regroup and work towards reclaiming power.
We are not broken. We are not defeated. Neither have we lost. We are builders. We are dreamers. We are fighters. We are servants of the Ghanaian people. So I ask you today, what is our purpose? Why do we gather here? Why do we wear the blue, red, and white colors of this party with pride? It is because we believe. We believe in development, in freedom. We believe in responsibilities. We believe in enterprise. We believe in the future of Ghana. Ghana needs us. The youth are watching us. The farmers are watching us. The traders are watching us. Let us fight as one body with one identified vision and ambition to make sure that this abysmal performance from the NDC government, Ghanaians are looking for alternatives, and Ghanaians want to come back to NPP. Ghanaians know that our government offers the better solutions to their problems, but at the end of the day, they want to vote for an opposition party that is ready for power, and therefore actions, inactions that seeks to divide us, that bring acrimony, that bring tension to us, needs to be relegated so that Ghanaians will see us as a proper, responsible, and viable opposition party that will wrestle them from the misery that they are going under the watch of His Excellency John Mahama and the NDC government.
Minority Leader Alexander Penyamaking reassured party faithful of the NPP's enduring strength despite the recent setbacks.
We are at a critical juncture as a party, not because our tradition is broken, but because it is being tested by an electoral defeat, internal tensions, unmet expectations, and the competing ambition of people who want to serve. But let us remind ourselves, ambition must never override party loyalty. Competition must never erode patriotism, and political differences must never poison the well of unity.
Former Vice President and 2024 NPP flag bearer Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia urged members to reject tribalism and religious intolerance as they chart a new course.
An army that wants to win a battle must exercise discipline within its ranks. Too often, when we are yet to choose leaders, indiscipline, unacceptable language, and unpardonable behavior become the order of the day. In the end, when internal competitions are over, the attacks we would have launched on ourselves become fodder and ammunition which our opponents use to attack us. We experienced it in the 2024 campaign, and we should not let it happen again a second time. This is why I call on all Kukrodites to stop internal attacks now.
Following the speeches,
so those were highlights of the NPP Extraordinary Delegates Conference that took place at the University of Ghana Sports Stadium. We had Dr. Mamu Baumia ending that report put together by Charles Owusu-Kumi. Tonight we get into the mind of the organizers of this very important program, one of the members of the committee that reviewed the 56 proposals and a director of the event, Kojo Oppong Nkrumah, MP for Fancy Rebi, is my guest in studio. We are live to reflect on what's happened so far with the NPP. 7 months in opposition. Are they in a hurry too much? Are they picking too quickly? Are they picking on the right issues? We'll deal with all of those when we come back, plus your comments. Stay with us.
In a fast-growing urban environment like Accra, safety should not be too far-reaching. It should be as easy as ABC. Hear the real stories from those who now feel safe like never before with Response 1.
We were held at gunpoint in our own home, and they got away with it.
We didn't have Response 1 back then. That was the most terrifying experience of our lives.
But after that, we subscribed to Response 1 to ensure that never happens again. The last time the hoodlums tried, we had installed Response 1 monitored alarm system. Their response team arrived, followed by the police, to ensure we are safe.
Don't wait for tragedy to strike. Protect your home with Response 1's monitored alarm system and our theft protection guarantee. Immediate response, real protection. Response 1, stay connected, stay protected.
Every day is packed with its own surprises. You never know which thrill is around the corner.
Feel good! Feel good!
Or how it will play out. There's a sense of excitement.
Did our plane just stop? Another cash out.
That adds a little magic to my everyday.
Feels like a party tonight! Remember who we are singing now? At risk of prostate enlargement. We a member or her. 20 ebitimi prostate cancer. 5 bitimi afamu nadia obefamu.
Actually, this is not my fault.
And to wada, entina midi manichi Executive Prostate Center.
Executive Prostate Center is a unique medical center where we harmonize in-depth traditional medicine with cutting-edge science and technology to cure, to treat, and to prevent diseases like prostate enlargement, prostate cancer.
Executive Prostate Center. Madame home. Facilities no any professional medical care.
Sisi a bibia clear system no. Ye nro ne so de natural. Into we koso afama ye.
Executive Prostate Center. My cured.
So tonight we're talking to Kojo Oppong Nkrumah, who is a member of the New Patriotic Party, a former Minister of Information, Works and Housing. He's also the ranking member on the Committee on the Economy. But tonight he's here to talk about the NPP's Extraordinary Conference. They held it over the weekend at the University of Ghana Sports Stadium. Over 7,500 delegates looked at many things, including 56 proposals. 54 were accepted. And of course, we delve into the numbers. Kojo was part of the committee that reviewed these proposals and also the director for the conference. Welcome.
Thanks, Bernard.
How are you doing?
I'm okay. Yourself?
A luta continua. So you are the... I just want to understand something. There was a committee chaired by Joe Wise.
Yes.
Which is different from the committee that you're a member of.
Yeah, so, you know, by Article 19 of our party's constitution, when it comes to amending the constitution, council sets up a review committee that does the process of review. But the delegates conference, which is an annual affair until now that has been amended, is run by a different body. So that body was run by Joe Wise and an entire committee that was put together to plan and execute it, transportation, security, all of those ones. And then communication and events. So also in that architecture, I was on the communication subcommittee chaired by Richard Ehagba, who is our director of communications. Yeah.
So the Joe Osewusu committee
planned the whole conference.
Deriving from the Michael Quay report or separate from
separate from it.
Okay.
In any case, the old constitution says that every year you're going to have a delegates conference. So Michael Quay report or no report, you are still going to have a conference. So that conference is planned for all of its stuff. But on the agenda for this specific conference was a constitutional amendment, which had been given to our committee, the Frank Davis Committee, to work on and to bring on the agenda for conference to take the motions and decide on.
But what was the basis for asking for a constitutional review in the first place?
So the Michael Quay committee was established to do the review of our performance in the election. In every election, whether we win or lose, we do an introspection. When the committee report came back, it highlighted about 4 major issues. There were issues of governance policy, particularly on the economy, that were raised. And it appears that was the major item. The majority of people said they either didn't vote or they voted against us because of their view that we had not been able to resolve the economic challenges robustly enough in their opinion.
Okay.
There were also issues of party corporate governance. So you will find that things broke down on the ground in some parts because of issues with corporate governance. There were issues with operations.
In relation to elections or generally?
No,
this number 2.
Yeah, just generally the management of the party.
Okay.
So you'll find that at this level in the party, this person is not available, this person is supposed to take over, or this person is acting in a particular way and has to be disciplined. So corporate governance within the party had its own challenges. Number 3, you had issues of operations. How do we do this in the party? Who has, power to do this and who has power to do that? And then finally, you had the perception in the party that when it comes to decision making in the party, a lot of people are excluded. A lot of people who should participate in it don't participate, and therefore ownership of those decisions and advancing the cause of those decisions suffers. So having learned from these 4 broad categories of challenges, the party started a process of reform. How many of these can we address through the constitution? And so we went through an exercise of opening up to receive proposals. Some of those proposals were constitutional, some were not constitutional. But having received over 300 proposals, some of which border on the same subject, we then spent time to do a few focus group discussions and consultations with key groups in the party and distill the over 300 proposals into about 56 motions.
300 proposals?
Yes, into about 56 motions and 1 transitional motion. So in all, it's 57, but 56 of them were actually towards constitutional amendment, which we then brought to conference on the agenda. So you then find on the order paper for conference that these are the motions that are being proposed for amendment, and conference had an opportunity to think through them and decide.
So governance policy issues, particularly in respect of economy, party corporate governance, operational issues, and then decision making. I can summarize this to be leadership. These are leadership issues.
You could,
leadership of both government and party.
Yes.
So why is the constitution the first place to go to?
Because a lot of those have constitutional underpinnings.
Really?
Let me describe something that most people don't like to hear us talk about. When it comes to governance policy, in Ghana today, what happens is that first the parties elect a flag bearer. Then the flag bearer puts together a manifesto committee about 3 or 5 months to the election. And then when the party wins, a minister is appointed. You will find sometimes a major disconnect between the party's philosophical positioning.
Yeah.
We are a liberal conservative party. Our colleagues on the other side are supposed to be a social democratic party. As a party that is right of center, what are our philosophical positions on tackling some of the major problems in our country, irrespective of who our flag bearer is? If you don't answer that question from a policy point of view, you elect a flag bearer and he will come with his own ideas. And you may end up in a situation where the government that is birthed is pursuing a policy agenda that sometimes is even at variance with your philosophical position as a party. And so you will find some of the amendments, for example, 26, 27, 30, trying to answer the policy question. So now we have set up a whole policy directorate or policy committee in the party. We have also now expanded how our sector committees are built, not just by politicians, but also bringing on board academics and experts in various areas. And we are now even requiring annual conference, I must say, because it's no longer annual, conference, to take policy positions on national matters, which policy positions will then inform the view that if you become a flag bearer tomorrow, you work with. And even if you are in power and your government is deviating from the party's philosophical position, the party now has a constitutional basis on which it can call you to order.
So was there a view that the way the country was being governed was possibly at variance with the way the party saw things in terms of its philosophy?
I would imagine that if that was not the case, these proposals will not be advanced and will not be overwhelmingly accepted by conference. And so I can understand if, these proposals come up strongly and conference votes overwhelmingly for it.
Which also suggests then that there will be a feeling that the party was not strong enough to either advise or stop the government.
So you will find that in some of the other amendments, for example, now, amendment or motion 36, there's a move to now clearly define who the leader of the party is. You also find some of the other amendments that now say that when you get a government position, go and focus on it and let other equally competent people come and take up that party position so that the confluence between government and party is now, may I say, better delineated, and the party has a stronger voice in exerting some oversight over the government itself.
Kojo, is that a constitutional issue or is an issue of personalities and power bases? Because I think we know that the leader of the party is the chairman and that the leader of the country is the president. And the country is bigger than the party. So even though you are reaffirming that the leader of the party is the chairman, that dynamic did not result from a constitutional misunderstanding. It resulted from possibly a power play.
Well, there's a history to it. If you go back to some other times in our history, you'll find that some amendments that were recently made in our constitution, for example, making a president a member of the steering committee of the party, did not used to exist.
Okay.
When some of those amendments were made, there is the view that it ended up making the party subservient to the government.
Okay.
And that it is important to help the party by those same constitutional amendments, at least for those specific matters, to become a bit stronger and in a position where it can exert its own oversight over the government. So there are personality issues, but if you clear them up in the party's constitution, it helps. And that is why conference took that view.
Because a lot of people want to know what problem the 56 amendments are solving. Because from an outside view, it seems very simple. The NPP came to power in 2017, started well, at some point lost its way, and Ghanaians just voted them out. Just accept it, regroup, and come back. Why all this?
Part of the
56.
Part of the regrouping is in understanding what the party or what the sentiments of party people are on some of the major issues. So, for example, if you take the places where people didn't vote, I mean, I said it just 2 days after the election. You go on the ground and people say, we were not engaged or involved in this decision making. And so we didn't feel a part of it, and that's why we didn't participate in it. Whether it's about electing parliamentary candidates or electing a presidential candidate.
Yeah.
So part of your resolution is how do you expand so that you can have more people participate and take ownership of the decision and therefore be more likely to come forward and work with it. So for example, you notice that we've expanded our polling station. I mean, first of all, the decision is that by 2028, we should go towards one man, one vote, where every card-bearing member of the party in good standing can participate in party decision-making. As part of the roadmap towards there, we've currently, based on the amendments that passed, expanded by about 40% now.
Okay.
So by the various layers of amendments, we have now expanded by about 40%. So you see an expansion at our polling station. You will see an attempt to cure the disconnect between region constituency on one side and the polling station. At first, there used to be one person known as the electoral area coordinator. Now, as part of the amendments, the wisdom of conference is that have a proper coordinating team, have a proper executive team with some specific roles in there. If you go to a polling station and they say, well, yes, the government said this at the top, but we didn't understand it down here to be able to explain it to people down here, and propaganda was, holding sway here. The party then comes to a view that perhaps at the polling station level, a communication officer is required. At the electoral area level, a communication officer is required before you even get to constituency. And that must no longer be an appointed position where there's a likelihood that cronies are appointed, but it must be an elective position so that people on the ground know who can best advocate for us or for our party here on the ground. So all of these come together to form part of the amendments aimed at making the party stronger. There are issues of discipline, for example, which have also now been, may I say, tidied up in our manifesto. What are the processes? What are the, may I say, offenses? Who has the power to discipline or to suspend or to call people to order? All of those things are necessary for you to be able to have a stronger party, which you can then take to an election.
So Kojo, while we are not quarreling with the need for a strong party, I think we can all agree that the outcome of the election showed clearly that a lot of Ghanaians voted against the NPP. So it's not just NPP people who didn't vote, but floating voters voted for NDC.
That is true.
So do you not think that the first place to start is to address Ghanaians honestly, to admit what went wrong? Because the party will always be there, wouldn't it? But it seems as if you're turning the cart before the horse and you're now trying to fix internal issues, when indeed it was the way people perceive your governance from the outside that led you to lose. Shouldn't that be the first thing you should do?
Well, you can choose whichever way you want to go. For us as a party, our view is that you don't have to necessarily put one as a choice against the other. You will have to, may I say, fix or strengthen the party, and then you also have to confront some of your policy decisions that were not popular. I don't think it's a blanket decision that everything the NPP did was terrible. There were some that were successful, which I applauded, and there were some that did not succeed. You will now find in this constitution, as I mentioned, amendment motions 26, 27, 30, creating room for party sector committees now to be expanded. They are the committees that are now going to do this detailed introspection and be able to even say, on this particular matter, as a party, we can admit that we erred. What would we do a second time? Until you have that, it becomes the single opinions of people. And you have other party
but I
people
thought that was what
disagreeing.
The report was supposed to have done.
No, the Okwe report found out the why. And as I mentioned to you, one of the whys was governance policy.
Did they give weight to
particularly,
did they give weight?
Indeed, it was, I think, the most predominant issue. It was the predominant issue. So
governance, so I'm coming, just to be clear. So of the 4 issues you give, the way the NPP government governed is the reason.
Particularly in the second term.
In the second term.
Is a major, and this has been on record. The General Secretary of the party has articulated it extensively.
So if that's the weightiest issue, Mpanyinfo can say, yeah, say, and say, yeah, fata. Wonderful. Yeah, so you do what is needful before you do what is comely.
Yes.
So if the weight is on governance policy issues, should that not be where the effort should focus? Should not be the starting point?
Not necessarily. You have a party that is in difficulty.
Let me explain, particularly because it looks like the brand of the party has been damaged in the eyes of Ghanaians. So there must be some effort of fixing it. Now, the reason this is an issue is it appears the MPP is looking within itself before looking outside. Whereas people say, look, we voted against you. You used to be the darling of Ghana. We voted against you guys. You need to talk to us. Then when we tell you what we feel about you, then you can go and fix yourselves.
But you need to fix yourselves and even find who among you is going to lead this exercise of talking to Ghanaians and even identifying which of the issues you have to make concessions on and which of the issues we all have to then go further and sell to Ghanaians. But you know, 7 out of our things worked. These 3, maybe they are weighty, but these 3 didn't go well. You need to go through that internal exercise of even identifying who. As at now...
But the self you are fixing, the party, there's nothing wrong with the party. MPP has a party. Is the government that failed?
No.
Or was it the party?
Well, it's a combination. The party had challenges, the government had challenges. And it is the exercise to fix all of these that is culminated in 56 different things that the party has decided to do.
All right.
Some of them are on the governance policy side, as I mentioned.
Okay.
Motions 26, 27, 30. Some of them are on party corporate governance. Some of them are on party operations.
Okay.
Some of them are even about getting people to feel more included in party decision making. You do all of this, and our expectation is that once all of this is done, and we've got our cards lined up, we are then in a better position. We have to put our house in order first.
Okay.
We are then in a better
So
position
in putting your house
to
in order,
engage the people of Ghana.
Some people feel like the aspirants are peaking too early because it's 7 months into the NDC being in office, 7 months since an election was lost. This exercise of 56 amendments may be great if it's not overshadowed by the fact that at least 5 or 6 men are already campaigning.
That's true.
Which, it's almost like, wow, you guys just lost a massive election. The system doesn't feel you've done a proper reckoning, and yet people are already throwing their hearts into the 2028 ring. Should not there be any amendment or advice around when the whistle should even blow for this type of campaigning to begin?
So, council shares this view. But council is also of the considered view that if you therefore don't resolve this quickly and you let this fester for the next 2 years or 2.5 years, there will be so much chaos that by the time you are ready to elect a leader, you may not have a party that can hold together. So let this internal competition, which will come, when you've had a party that has been led by one man for 16 years, and that person is no longer on the seat, there will be a scramble for power. That is a basic fact in human life.
Has it been ever for 16 years?
Nana
I thought we've had different chairmen.
No. I mean, Nana Akufo-Addo has not been the de jure leader, but he's been the de facto leader of the party for the last 16 years. 8 years in opposition, 8 years in government.
So even while there were other chairmen, he was the leader of the party.
Which is why Motion 36 sought to clear that up.
But you are doing de jure.
But if I just... No. So,
the flag bearer will still be de facto.
It's not just that. You'll find that Motion 34 and 35 deal with, therefore, the role of the chairman, even when there's a flag bearer.
All right.
So all of those are being tidied up in the party. Now, the point is that if you don't do this early enough to contain what will be an obvious scramble and campaign period where people will make all sort of arguments against each other and the party will be fragmented along camp lines, if you don't contain it quickly and recover from it quickly, it will spill over and you won't have enough time to even do the earlier thing that you were saying. How do you then come to the people of Ghana with a certain understanding of what went right and what didn't go right?
So are we admitting that the current leadership cannot rein in the aspirants? For which reason we need to use this approach? Because if council agrees with the proposition I just put out, the obvious thing to do is to say, hey, nobody is campaigning until we do what we want to do or to announce something. But clearly, it looks like there are people who have more power or cannot be controlled by the national executive. Therefore, council has to approve this route of constitutional amendment, conference, and all these.
No, council has approved the route of an early election. So that the competition can be contained, and then you will have, because see, elections bring internal competition, different ideas. Sometimes it spills over. Council is of the view that it must be done early. That's different from the constitutional.
Can't council ask them? I understand. But can't council say that it does not look well for the party for people to begin campaigning in May after we lost so badly in December? Therefore, nobody should campaign until we say so. Can't council say that?
It is a political enterprise. People may be told not to do rallies, but they'll be visiting people at home and doing.
So they can't enforce it.
You will not be able to enforce a decision of that nature. It's a political enterprise. And so council in its wisdom says, let's be pragmatic. Let's do this. Let's allow them to do their campaign and competition, and let's do this early, within a 6-month period, so that by the end of January 2026, we have resolved that question. And it gives us about 3 years to be able to rebuild the cracks that obviously will come up after a 16-year leadership journey. On the other side, council is also of the view that the reforms that need to take place in the party need to start now. So let's take the bull by the horn and let's do those necessary reforms and begin the process of implementation.
Point of view is live. Kojo Oppong Nkrumah is my guest. He and his team organized this conference, which has been largely described as successful. The question, though, is this the most important thing the NPP should be doing now? We'll be back with more questions for him and also your comments. Stay with us.
It's Anis Hafor. I'm currently serving as the chairman of the Barstow Ghana. What I've noticed with Barstow Ghana is that we are introducing the American curriculum for the first time into the country. And the interest that I have in it is that we want to do something that's a little different.
At the Barstow schools, we believe that true education extends beyond traditional learning. It is about preparing our students to thrive in a globally interconnected world. Our Ghana campus embodies this philosophy by offering a rigorous curriculum aligned with our Kansas City home campus.
Our mission is to promote sound scholarship and to give symmetrical development to mind, body, and character.
If I can complete a marathon, then I can overcome any situation that comes my way.
Register now for the ABSA Black Star Marathon, because your story matters.
Remember who we are seeing now. At risk of prostate enlargement. We a member or her 20 ebitiminya prostate cancer. 5 bitimi afamu na dia ubefamu.
Actually, this is not my fault.
And to wada, entina midi meniche Executive Prostate Center.
Executive Prostate Center is a unique medical center where we harmonize in-depth traditional medicine with cutting-edge science and technology to cure, to treat, and to prevent diseases like prostate enlargement, prostate cancer.
Executive Prostate Center. Madame home. Facilities no any professional medical care.
Sisi a bibia clear system no. Ye nro ne so de natural. Into we koso afama ye.
Executive Prostate Center. My cured.
Welcome back. So tonight on The Point of View, we're speaking to Kojo Oppong Nkrumah, who is a member of the committee that reviewed 56 amendments, 54 of which were carried by Congress. And of course, the one is also like the bridge one, which they say will be discussed later. Kojo, a couple of things. There's a lot of controversy about why is NPP choosing a flag bearer in January 2026 before electing new officers from across the board. This seems unprecedented. Correct?
I think the answer to that I've provided already.
No, I'm saying it's unprecedented in terms of NPP.
Well, no, there have been early conferences in times past. I remember when I think it was.
I'm talking about the sequence now. Yeah. I'm not talking about I'm talking about the sequence.
Very well. Yes, but at any material time, there's an electoral college.
Okay.
So when the date for the election is fixed, and there have been times past when the date has been fixed earlier than, initially it used to be 1 year to the election. Then it was moved to 2 years to the
But even in those, election. When it was moved 2 years
to the election. At any material time when it is moved, there's an electoral college that decides.
I think that the concern would be that the electoral college will be made up of people who have already exercised their franchise for a previous flag bearer.
Not necessarily. In fact, Peter McMahon draws our attention to one of the periods when it was moved forward in which the existent electoral college was the one that did the election. But in this particular instance, it's not even the entire electoral college that would still have their mandate. Yes, there will be some that still have a mandate.
Yeah.
But there are some that immediately after conference yesterday, it kicks in based on the transitional motions. There are lots of people. This 40% expansion, there's a good chunk of it who don't require election. Former MPs, former ministers of state, former MMDCs, members of the Council of Elders. So there's a good chunk of persons in this new electoral college who will not require a new election, but by virtue of the amendments that have been made. But the principle is that we need to contain the competition early so that we can get our house in order and do a decent job as an opposition party, as against spending 2 or 2.5 years of our time battling among ourselves.
At the risk of sounding like a broken record, what prevented the party from putting this date to conference? You had 56 proposals, of which 54 went through. Why didn't you just say, Council of Elders is proposing January 2026 for flag bearer election before other elections? All those people say aye.
That would even be in flagrant violation of the Constitution. The Constitution spells out some jobs that steering committee does, some jobs that National Executive Committee does, some jobs that council does. When it comes to setting a date for elections in the party and the guidelines for election, it is a job of council. When it comes to constitutional amendments and election, for example, of national officers or flag bearers, that is the job of conference. So it would be totally inordinate to say that you are now going to subject...
because the conference is the highest decision-making body, and because this is generally seen as unprecedented, you ought to solidify it in some ratification.
You ought not to do that. There are things that are clearly the job of, like I said, steering committee. You don't say that because it's an unprecedented decision, you are escalating steering committee matters to NEC or council or conference. It is a place of council to determine when these elections take place, and council has settled that.
Final point on this before we get into the specifics. When in 2007, NPP had 17 aspirants, a lot of people said that the optics were not good. So this idea of super delegates was introduced, which now has been expunged. It seems as if, at least from those two evidences, when MPP loses an election or when something untoward happens to the party, you seem to overcompensate in solving it. And then because now we realize that super delegates doesn't really work, so it's been expunged. But that was in reaction to 2007. Could this not also be one of those things where in 4 years we'll say, look, this is actually not the best thing to do. Let's start from the bottom and build up.
I mean, even the National Constitution, we are going through an exercise of examining what ought to change after just about, 25
but
or 30 years.
we haven't touched it yet.
No. Well, we have. We have amended various parts of our Constitution.
I'm talking about we haven't done...
It is exactly the same thing. So democracy is an exercise in constant examination. You examine things that you think have not worked, and you try to improve them in your Constitution. And if you get to a point where you think that this no longer works, you change it. For example, this super delegates idea was mooted after, I think, 2008 to try to reduce the numbers with the hope of curing the public impression. The reality is that if, 15 people stand for an election and even there's a super delegate election, it's still in people's minds that 15 people went for this. So the super delegates did not actually end up curing it. And there's nothing wrong with the party examining that and saying that based on that, we want to walk that back, especially at a time when we are now expanding by about 40% towards a one-man, one-vote, so that we no longer need this.
Something is confusing.
Hold on. I think it is actually a plaudit for a party to be deep in interrogating things that haven't gone right for it and seeking to.
But you could also see it as making the rules as you go. You make the rule, it serves for a time, you change it, almost to serve the exigency of the time. There are two ways of looking at that. I'm not here to litigate that. What's confusing to me is that you've expanded your electoral college from 220,000 to 280,000. Not all of them will vote in January. Not all the new entrants. Because that 60K that are joining, we are told some will vote in the January presidential, but the rest will vote after March. I'm not sure I get that.
No, but there's no election after March.
No, they're saying that the term, because we are told that there are former MPs, former parliamentary candidates, former DCEs, and former deputy ministers and co who are voting. And then there's also an expansion of polling station executives. But those expanded polling station executives will not vote in January.
Because the mandate of the polling station and electoral area structure has not expired. They have mandate. They constitute the current electoral college. And so by the time primaries take place in January, they are those who have mandate to take a decision.
I get that.
When their tenure is up and new elections take place, Then you have new elections at their level.
For more, so the polling stations will be expanded.
Not just the expansion, but the current ones will also have their mandate expiring and an election taking place on them. Until then,
so what I'm saying that,
conference took the view that there's no need to tackle that.
So what I'm trying to say is that the 60K that are added to the 220K, not all of them will vote in January.
Yes. In fact, there are people who have even been given rights who will elect not to participate. There are former ministers of state who have left the party.
Fair enough.
They will not be.
But generally, if I'm a former parliamentary candidate, let me give you an example. Kojo Oppong, Shakes, he ran for Winchi. He's a parliamentary candidate, and he lost. Based on this new amendment, he will vote in January.
Yes, assuming that all other things are equal, he's still a member of the party.
Oh, he's not going anywhere.
Well, no, there are people who had offices on which privileges have been conferred now.
I'm just trying to clarify.
Once they take themselves
out,
once they take themselves out, they can't participate.
I get that. I'm trying to clarify that the 60,000 expansion does not take effect immediately for everybody.
It takes effect immediately except for offices where mandate have not expired. So if mandate has expired and a new election takes place, then the new constitutions will take place. If mandate has not expired, the old persons who still have mandate. So the March point that you make, for example, polling stations were elected in March. Their mandate will expire in March next year. Conference took a decision that until that mandate expires, we ought not to conduct new elections or to do the additions. That was the decision of conference.
It will seem to me as if the polling station is a very strategic and contentious place because Motion 17 was also shut down, which was to provide that the Regional Executive Committee shall appoint persons other than polling station, electoral area, and constituency officers to supervise polling station, electoral area elections. They said, no, we don't want that. So it looks like the polling station is almost like the prized asset of the party. And the stations don't want to relinquish the power they have to anybody.
Yes. Because the proponents of that particular proposal, there were, I mean, if I recall well, about 6 or 7 different proposals that culminated in this particular motion. And the argument has been that it is the, prized possession of the party, and sometimes because the executives are the same as the delegates in the parliamentary primaries, there is the temptation for constituency, electoral area, and party officials to maneuver in those elections. That's what leads to all the incidents of forms are not available here, chaos here, etc. So the proponents argued that the conduct of that election must be done by the regional executive using persons other than the polling station, electoral area, and constituency executives. But as you heard, even before we started reading the motion, the whole stadium was agog with no. In fact, at a point, Chairman Frank Davis, and I give him a lot of credit for the job that he has led the committee to do, had to plead with conference that please let's hear the motion and the justification before you can take the vote.
They don't want to listen.
Eventually, we got through it, but then they shut it down. But yes, that's the sense that you get. This is a democracy.
That the polling station people feel like this is the only control they have, the only influence they have. And if they relinquish that power to any higher power, then they are rendered powerless.
And they make a strong argument that they are the people on the ground. They know who has their bona fides intact as a party.
Some people say that's their cocoa season. Well, so if you take it from them, what do they eat?
You can look at it from that point of view as well. But their argument, at least, which they tabled before us, it didn't find favor with us, but it found favor with conference, was the fact that they are the people on the ground. They know whose bona fides are intact, and therefore they should be allowed to conduct their own elections.
The issue of youth was quite interesting. Yes. That you wanted to define youth to be 35.
Yes.
UN says youth is 25. Of course, countries are free to choose. Was it, I don't know how to even put this, shouldn't this question have been put to the youth? Why was it put to the General Congress?
Because when it comes
it's a youth question, right?
No.
Why are you putting a question about youth to older people?
When it comes to constitutional amendments, in Ghana, the constitution can be amended for the non-entrenched provisions by Parliament, but for the entrenched provisions, you have to go for a referendum. When it comes to the amendment of our constitution, it's a referendum of conference. Only conference can take that decision.
And conference was made up of more non-youth than youth.
Well, but there are those who ended up deciding
because don't forget that even in your previous elections, there's always in contention about who are the TESCON reps.
Yes, that has also been clarified.
The thing about the parties is that our population is big at the base. And I feel like a lot of young people deserve more say in not just NPP, NDC and everywhere else.
I believe
so.
So
for a lot
well.
of young people, this is not fair for them that a youth can get up to 40.
Well, conference was of the view that limiting it to 35 denies the youth cohort the experience and the benefit of some of the persons who have just been through youth. And so they are of the view that 40 is what works.
They've been through youth.
Yes, 40 is what works. In fact, if you watch the video, we struggled with the justification. Conference gave an overwhelming no that they want to keep
it at 40. So the 35 to 40 are they've been through you.
They have been
anyway,
through
the church is the youth assistant. So I think it's fine. We'll take it like that. Now, there's a couple of questions for you here.
Yeah.
Let me read a few to you. This one is a direct question.
Okay.
It says, Bernard, please ask Kojo, is it true that only one copy of the Michael Kwe report was printed? 2, why have they not made the report public and done serious introspection instead of rushing to elect a flag bearer?
So first, it is not true that we have not done serious introspection on the report. Sitting before you, have outlined the 4 major things that the report spoke about. The General Secretary of the party, going around on our thank you tours, has espoused ad infinitum what the report says. But no, we will not be publishing that report in the general public. Political parties don't do that because it also contains some, may I say, trade secret, sensitive information. So no party worth its salt does that.
We'll put that out.
No. The summary that we believe captures it, we have put it out and we have responded to, or we've started the process of responding.
Another question for you. Why have they sidelined their elders? How many of them were at the park on Saturday?
With the exception of former President Akufo-Addo and former President Kufuor, who are both not in the country, I am not aware of any elder who is not available for conference but was in the country and chose to sit out. Our elders are extensively consulted. In fact, as we were doing this work, Lawyer Frank Davis, who chairs our committee, and the entire committee, we spent time, hours with President Kufuor, taking him through the various proposals and getting his views on it. We spent hours with President Akufo-Addo, taking him through the proposals and getting his views on it. They made inputs.
But did you hear President Kufuor say NPP has sidelined him?
Well, that video is a controversial video. You are somebody who is very, may I say, skilled in this enterprise. Go and watch that video and see how it's been edited. I won't make any further comments. Go and watch that video and see how it's been edited. And you can make a judgment for yourself whether it is the full words that he spoke or whether it's been truncated for particular purposes. We're in a time of competition.
Did President Kufuor give a statement that we played? You know, usually when they do these programs, even if it's not there physically, you would play an audio or video of him endorsing. Did we see that?
Not necessarily. President Akufo-Addo didn't give us a video either. Auntie Frema came to read a message on his behalf. President Kufuor did not have a message. So the one that we used was the last message he gave us. He's in the UK currently. I don't want to give too much details about it. The last message that we used was his message at the Patriotic Institute opening, where he spoke at length about what he thinks that the party should be doing.
Not to overstretch it, because of the video that has come out,
yes,
it would have been nice to hear him speak to
That
conference.
is fair. That is fair. But I think that this attempt by some party persons to create an impression by using some of these videos, heavily edited, and I challenge you, go look at it and you see where they bring in the red lines to, you know, swoosh and cut out what he's saying in detail. Look for it. I think that this attempt to use our former leaders to pitch them against maybe the current leadership, etc., should stop. Our former leaders, there's not a single council meeting that we have gone for that we haven't invited President Kufuor. And he always has his office right back when he's unable to attend. There's not a major party decision that is being made that we don't go to him. If you probably saw the unedited version of that video, you will see exactly what he was talking about.
But I want to make the point. Understand why the question is asking.
I can understand
if you see that video and then you didn't also hear him.
Yes,
on
he has
the platform.
consumed a video that was deliberately edited and put out to create an impression.
The party hasn't come out to say this.
No,
you are now saying this.
No. The General Secretary of the party has come out on record to explain that that video does not reflect the actual position because in detail at every material time he's consulted, he's engaged, he's invited. And even for our committee's work, we did that with the
one campaign team said that the events for the day.
Which campaign team is
Canada Japan's team. I heard Kwesi Kwarteng speak as a spokesperson that basically the optics for the day were skewed to favor Dr. Bawumia. He was the only person who was allowed to walk and receive cheers. The rest of them were not able to do this, and they felt that it was not fair.
The first problem is the supposition that we have campaign teams. currently, council has not even announced a timetable for people to declare intention, pick up forms, etc.
All right.
The supposition that currently campaign has opened and therefore we have different teams that should be given different privileges is...
But you acknowledge that, which is why you are doing the early election of flag bearers.
I'm saying that it's going on underground. But for now, for some persons to say...
Which is why you are...
For some persons, I'm laying a foundation. Yeah. For some persons to now say that therefore they constitute a campaign team and must be giving some rights at a party conference is problematic. No campaign team is recognized and given rights at conference. There were 3 former living leaders, if I may put it that way, who were given opportunity to speak. President Kufuor, President Akufo-Addo, former Vice President Mahamudu Bawumia. The 2 were not available. He was available. And so he came on the stage, made a statement. If during his statement he had gotten into a campaign mode, all of us would have been upset and would have condemned it. I listened to his speech. He never did anything of a campaign nature. On his way back and on his way to the podium, he acknowledged cheers from delegates who were there. For anybody to suggest, therefore, that his rights as a former president should be curtailed will be untoward. You know that after 2008, even when we hadn't gone for new elections, when we hold conferences, the paraphernalia of the last ticket, that was President Akufo-Addo and Vice President Bawumia, was the paraphernalia that we added to the historical photos. And there was no contention about it. In this particular one, party went as far as saying that we didn't want any such paraphernalia, to the extent that even Bawumia photos and other things had to be taken
So you are acknowledging the competition and the difference in the time.
But it ought not to be escalated to say, therefore, we are camps and should be given some unfettered access to go out there and campaign. There was a decision not to allow...
So there was no flag bearer. So Dr. Bernard didn't speak as a flag bearer.
No. He was introduced clearly as the former vice president. Right. His speech was not about campaigning for whether or not he has interest in contesting for the next one. His speech, if you read the text of his speech and watch the video, was about a united party. You would watch the symbols that I think he was using. I'm told he was talking about unity and love and something else. And if you listen to the words that he spoke, that's what it was about. So I don't think we should now get back into this thing of give us space,
But some of this suggests that the decision by
council
yes, to hold early presidential elections is probably grounded because they can see the fault lines.
Yes.
So I think the question many would ask is that, is NPP aware of the potential fault lines, and how are you going to work to ensure that it doesn't further deepen? Because that's a major issue.
So part of the answer is in your question. The first part is the setting of the date for 31st January so that we can contain this and deal with it. The second part is setting of rules clearly so that people know what they are entitled to and what they are not entitled to.
Good.
The third part, I believe, is in strengthening the discipline structures so that even in this process, people don't take advantage of the fact that we're going to open up for competition and misbehave or flout the rules, expecting that because it's a competitive period, nobody will be able to call them to order. That's why we've been clear on who is the leader of the party, strengthening the disciplinary committees, strengthening the committees that can crack the whip, and we would expect the party leadership to do so.
So on 2 levels, because you were a member of the committee that reviewed the 56, you got 54 out of 56, which is around 99%.
No, that's about 96% if I'm correct.
I've even been more generous. And I think largely the conference was seen as successful.
Yeah.
So well done.
Well, on behalf of Joe Weiss, who chaired the entire conference planning committee, and Richard Ayangba, who chaired the communication and events committee, I will take your commendations. And then on behalf of Frank Davis as well.
I'm sure you know there's a lot of work ahead.
There is.
Because we need a strong opposition.
Yes.
What did you make of Ludwig?
We had a good chat backstage. He said we had held him up in a small room, even though he had come to participate in conference. But that's part of the camaraderie.
Ludwig Kojo was just incredible with his speech.
Yes.
He said we want to be a strong opposition, so we'll be an opposition for a long time. But it's always good to have the other party come in. It's a culture we have that we should continue.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kojo Oppong Nkrumah,
thank you.
And thank you for watching tonight's edition of The Point of View. We'll be with you next time. Bye-bye.